we go over to the secondary screening room, and they tell us just sit here for a minute. We're gonna have a chat. And so I said, all right. So my family's all nervous, like, what's going on? My wife's looking
Very weird.
Yeah, my wife's like, why are they stopping us? I go, I have no clue what's going on. At that point, I was taken into a smaller room, an interview room, and this same plainclothes officer comes up to me and says, we know who you are. We know that you're an attorney.
That's what he says? We know who you are?
Right. He says, we know who you are. We know that you're an attorney, and we know that you're taking on some pretty high-profile cases lately.
That's a bizarre thing to say. Welcome to another great episode of Cases Gone Wild with me, your host, Jon Marko, brought to you by Marko Law. And we have a great show for you today. We have somebody who's been in the news quite a lot lately, maybe even as much as me. My friend, great attorney, fighter for the people, Amir Makled's here. Can't wait to hear from him. Remember, you can watch us. We're here filming live on YouTube, so watch us on our YouTube channel. You can also check us out on the Cases Gone Wild on the Marko Law webpage, markolaw.com, and click on Cases Gone Wild, and be sure to share with your friends and family. We're going to talk about some cases gone wild. Amir, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, brother.
Oh, man, John, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. You've been an attorney for about 15 years, fighter for the people, especially the people of Dearborn. I know you take a lot of cases relating to or out of Dearborn. Every time I see a Dearborn case, a good one, I'm like, I'm going to have to fight with Amir to see who's going to get
That's right.
this case. We both have had quite a few cases out of Dearborn. You went to Wayne State Law. You focus on civil rights, you do criminal defense, and you do PI.
Right.
So,
that's right.
Yeah. So tell us about kind of your journey to how you became a lawyer and why you do what you do.
Honestly, I became a lawyer really by accident, because when I graduated at 2009, I graduated college, the economy was tanked. There wasn't really a lot of job opportunities out there. So,
yeah, I was 08. It was a horrible time to start.
It was like the worst time to finish college. And so I ended up getting a job at General Motors as like a contract hire. And like for one day I sat in a cubicle and I looked around. I'm like, this is not what I signed up to do. Like,
this is after law school.
This is before law school.
Oh, this is before law school.
And so I decided, no. I'm going to continue my education. I quit the next day.
One day.
Yeah. And then ended up applying to Wayne State Law, and I got accepted. And so then my journey began going into the legal field. But before that, we had a family businesses growing up. My dad had collision shops and car washes and gas stations.
Yeah.
So I always had that to fall back on too. My pops was always looking at me like, why are you in school when we have these businesses? You can do that. It was kind of the opposite.
And do pretty well, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, listen, if I fail in school, I'll just go back to the collision shop. Like I got something to fall back on. Just let me try.
Yeah.
So the deal that I had with my pops is, listen, I'll still work at your collision shop if you let me go to Wayne State Law School. And he's like, yeah, fine. Our shop was on campus at Wayne State.
No way.
So I used to do I'd paint a car in the morning and then go to torts class in the afternoon.
That's awesome. Lebanese background, right?
Lebanese background, yeah.
And so you were recently in the news because you were detained at the airport, right? By ICE or by the Customs
and Border. Yeah, Customs and Border Protection.
So normally on Cases Gone Wild, we talk about our clients' cases, but we're going to talk about your case. So what happened? Tell us. This is crazy.
Yeah, my situation was wild. Truly never thought this would happen to me as an attorney. But, you're
an American citizen.
Yeah, born in Henry Ford Hospital in downtown Detroit. But so I was coming back from Dominican Republic with my wife and kids.
Just like a family vacation? Or?
Yeah, spring break. We were just coming back from spring break. And the moment I got into Detroit Customs, right at the Detroit airport, I get my passport, get my wife's passport, my kids, and everybody's going through the customs routine check. No big deal.
This is where they have the booths and you have to show your passport?
Yep.
Like where they stamp it on the way back in?
Stamp it on the way back in before you get your luggage. And so at that point, the agent looks at my passport, stops, and then looks across to another kiosk like next to him and says, hey, are one of those TTRT agents here? And I'm like, what the heck is that? So I Googled it on my phone while I was standing there, and it said Tactical Terrorism Response Team, Customs and Border Protection. I said, oh my gosh. I said,
No,
so
wait,
something's up here.
now, did something happen like on your way in, or was this just like normal?
No. It was nothing gave me any indication or sign that I was going to be stopped. I didn't do.
You didn't try to sneak in some Dominican Republic cigars or anything?
No. I wish I had a little Dominican rum or cigars or something, dude. I had nothing. It's just coming back. And so an agent walked in, plain closed,
Plain clothes, like undercover agent?
Like undercover agent, like bam, immediately popped up. It's like, follow me.
Is your family still there?
My wife and kids are with me.
How old are your kids?
They're twin 10-year-old girls.
Wow.
And they were 9 at this time. And so we go over to the secondary screening room, and then they, collect all our passports, all travel documents, and they tell us just sit here for a minute. We're going to have a chat. And so I said, all right. So my family's all nervous. Like, what's going on? My wife's looking
Very weird.
Yeah, my wife's like, why are they stopping us? I go, I have no clue what's going on, but we'll find out.
Had you ever been stopped before like this? I mean,
no.
I've never, I've traveled a lot. I love to travel.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had, it's normally, they look at it, where were you? I was, here or there, Dominican Republic stamp, and you go on your way.
Right. Yeah, I traveled often, man. I've been all over Europe. I've been to the Middle East. I've traveled outside of the country like at least once a year in the last 10 years. Sometimes twice a year, so I travel often, but never been stopped. Finally, I'm in the secondary screening room.
And what is this secondary screening room?
So this is like an enclosed room. You actually have to be buzzed in and out. So you're detained. You're not allowed to walk out of this room unless they let you walk out. So all of us together as a family are detained. And so I start talking to this guy that's sitting at a desk, and I'm like, can my wife and kids leave at least? Do you need me or do you need all of us? And they're like, no, they can go. I said, well, give me the passports. And so they hand their passports over to my wife, and then she walked out so fast, dude. Like the alarm at the door went off, and I'm like, let it. So I wanted her to really just get the kids home. They had school the next day, and it made me feel a lot more comfortable to deal with law enforcement, knowing
without
that
your wife and kids there,
without the kids just being nervous or anything. And
it's traumatic for little kids,
for sure,
because they can sense this isn't normal. What's going on? Why is there a police? I mean, I remember when my parents got just pulled over on the highway, like when we were young. I mean, I still remember it vividly. You know,
it's to them. I just tried to explain to them that don't worry, I got this, guys. I know what I'm doing. Blah blah blah, and they were cool about it. They understood, and then they left. So. At that point, I was taken into a smaller room, an interview room, and this same plainclothes officer comes up to me and says, we know who you are. We know that you're an attorney.
That's what he says? We know who you are?
Right. He says, we know who you are. We know that you're an attorney, and we know that you're taking on some pretty high-profile cases lately. I said, okay.
That's a bizarre thing to say.
Right off rip. And I'm like, okay. And the only high-profile case I was doing at that time was representing the U of M students who were protesting. I had a big case that we were going after the Attorney General's office. Dana Nessel was charging 8 students and activists at the University of Michigan for protesting for divestment in the war in Gaza and things of that nature. And so they were criminally charged for what we thought were free speech issues. You shouldn't be prosecuted for protesting. And so that was, high profile. And that's really the only high profile case I had going on at the time.
But how would first of all, that has nothing to do with immigrations and customs, really.
No.
And how would they even flag you? That's crazy. That's scary. So, was your name in like a computer somewhere or something?
So they were waiting for me. So what I found out later is that because I was involved in the defense of those students and activists, they wanted information out of my phone. And they wanted to know, who my clients were and what I was doing and what I was, what my communications were like.
That's privileged.
Exactly. And so the moment they asked, do you have your phone with you? I said, yeah, but I'm not giving it to you. And so they're like, well, we have the right to take it at the border. And they're right. At the border, you don't have as much protection. When you're coming through international borders, it's like looking in your luggage. The government can't open up your suitcase to see if you got contraband.
Yeah.
They say that we can go through your electronics to see if you have contraband in your electronics.
But like if I have my client file, like sometimes I bring my client files because I work all the time.
Right.
I go on vacation. I have a trial maybe after vacation. I'll bring my file with me. Mm-hmm. Sometimes electronic on an iPad, but sometimes I'll bring like a case file, some physical stuff. You're telling me that they can take my case file and go through my private attorney privileged thing, because privilege is supposed to be sacred.
Privilege is sacred across the board, and they have found a carve out. This is a little bit of a carve out where they get around a search warrant requirement. They don't need reasonable suspicion. They don't need probable cause. They don't need a warrant. They can go through your electronic data and your phone.
I'm a lawyer and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And excuse my French, but that's bullshit.
Exactly. And that's why I raised privilege immediately. I said, guys, you know that you started this interview with, you know that I'm a lawyer. And so everything in my phone everything in my office is electronic now.
Yeah.
So I keep all my case files, emails, communications, text messages, everything I can access through my phone. I don't even need a laptop. If I'm traveling, I can pull up any file that I want. And, my office scans everything. So it's all there. And to me, I'm not handing that over to the government. Like, that's not something I'm readily going to just give them access to.
And they're probably going to use it to target your clients in some way or another.
Exactly. And so when I started raising privilege to this agent, they were like stooped. Like they knew that I was a lawyer, but I don't know that this particular agent had ever been confronted with this issue of claiming privilege.
Because most people, would probably just say okay.
Yeah. I think most people coming through after a long trip would be exhausted, whatever. I don't have nothing to hide. Let me just, go through this procedure, give them my device, and be done. And, to me, that's the wrong approach to when dealing with government. I don't care if I'm innocent or not.
Because where does it stop?
Exactly. Because it's a slippery slope at that point. And I'm not just going to allow, government to have so much overreach and control, because I'm a person that believes in individual rights, and I don't think the government should have access to that much information. They're supposed to be regulating laws for us and providing, services, law enforcement, things of that nature, but not intrusive, not getting into our personal papers and effects. I mean, that's right in the Constitution, when it comes to, the Fourth Amendment and things of that nature. So I wasn't going to give it to him. And so he had to go to a supervisor. And so they iced me for like 30 minutes by myself in this interview room. And my phone was still with me at this point. And they come back, and they hand me a legal pad. And he's like, fine, why don't you just tell me what's in your phone that you think is privileged? We won't look at that, but we're going to look at everything else. I said, what are you talking about?
Like, your phone probably has like 50 apps and like, yeah, like what?
And think about 15 years being a lawyer, 15 years of emails, text messages, files. Like I said, dude, it's impossible. I'm not going to sit here in this interview room and in this setting and write down on a legal pad what is privilege and what isn't.
And that would take days to even figure out.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So that stooped him again. And then he came back. And at some point in this interview, he gave me this kind of like a pamphlet. And I knew what the law was at the border in terms of searches, because I'm just curious about law. Yeah. And so I read weird stuff. And so I read that they can seize your electronic devices at the border. In the back of my head, I always thought that could happen to me, but never expected it to happen to me.
Yeah. Like, I'm flying out later today.
Yeah.
And I'm not crossing the border.
Only international border.
Okay, only the international border. So, like, if I go to a Lions game somewhere, they can't search my phone. Okay.
No, that's within the U.S. They can't do it. They need a warrant for that. So I look at this pamphlet, and so now I'm trying to, like, flip the dialogue. I'm trying to put the pressure on the government instead of me feeling under pressure. So I slowly read this piece of paper that he hands me, and I'm just like, really annoying in terms of how long it's taking me to analyze this like little pamphlet says that, yeah, we can take your phone. And he's like, it says we can take your phone. I'm like, I know what it says, but I'm not going to give it to you, man. It's just not going to happen. And so eventually they come to this thing like, all right, if you don't let us into your phone, we're just going to take it. Whether you give us the password or not, we're just going to take it. And then we'll figure out if we give it back to you later on. So I didn't know this at the time, but they have to return your device within 2 weeks. That's kind of their CBP policy. Customs and Border Protection has a policy on this.
Still a long time, dude. I mean, who's going to give, like, if I was in this situation, I got shit I need to do.
Exactly.
I'm not going to give up my phone, which I use for clients,
everything,
my work. I mean, this is an impossible, horrible situation to be put in.
So then at that point, I acquiesced. I said, because my thought process is like, I have court tomorrow. There's no way I can be 2 weeks without my device. It's like my life would be like all in disarray. So I was like, what do you guys want to see? And they're like, we just want to see your contact list. I said, only my contact list? They're like, yeah. I said, okay. So I write down on that same legal pad that they gave me, I allow you to look at my contact list only. Everything else is privileged. And so I signed that and I handed it to him. And the reason why I did that, and I still had my lawyer hat on at this point, is like, I want to lock in the event they go beyond the scope of my consent. So I'm giving them consent to look at the list of contacts only. If they get into like text messages, if they get into emails, if they get into
millions
files,
of other things.
you know what I mean? If they're just extracting all my data and then using that for third-party issues or whatever it is, I want to know that I have legal recourse to challenge it, because I can say, hey, the extent of the consent that I gave was this. Anything beyond that is, really illegally seized and improperly, gotten, and so it can't be used in anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give them the contact list. They come back after they download this list, and it took them about 6-7 minutes. So that gave me, at least hope that they didn't download my whole phone, because
because they can. Yeah. I do forensic download stuff on like a car crash or something. They can mirror your phone on a machine. It usually takes longer than that, I think.
Exactly. So I knew that as well, and I knew when the technology is like that fast, they didn't download the whole device.
Yeah.
So that gave me a little bit, I felt better about it. But then they started asking me about individuals in that contact list, right? And
Who are your clients?
They turned out to all be clients, every single one. And they were looking at a certain demographic of my client also, and so
Arab clients,
Lebanese clients, people who come from South Lebanon, knowing that there was a recent war with Israel with South Lebanon. And so I found that to be really, alarming that they're trying to collect that kind of data, from me. Who is this person? Who is that person? What's your association? Asking about my activist cases that I'm doing, all right? Who are these folks? Why are they activists? What do you know about them? And so
were you answering these questions?
No, absolutely. And I'm looking at them like, are you guys like what? Anybody that's in my phone is a friend, a family member, or a client. I'm not going to go into details about who these folks are and what they're doing and how I know them or how I'm associated with them. And so, again, at that point, they realized we're not getting much out of this guy. And so they kind of shut down the interview at that point. Hand my device back to me, start walking out, and I'm talking to this guy on the way out. And at this point, I'm probably like almost 2 hours into this whole ordeal.
Your family's already
Everybody's home. The airport's empty. Like no one's coming through. Like my bags are on the side.
Yeah.
Like they collected my stuff for me. Like, and they had to unlock the door again to get me out. And there was a gate down where the luggage is, to pick up. So I'm like, am I going to have to go through this ordeal every time I'm traveling internationally? He's like, I don't know. Maybe,
What a day.
I mean, he's like, I had a job to do. I had a box to check off. I did it. I'm going to write a report about this. And then, we'll figure it out. Maybe you might get stopped again. Maybe you won't. And so I was like, man, I couldn't sleep that night. Like all night I'm thinking about like, what the heck did I just deal with? Yeah. What is this? What the heck can I just deal with? And so the next morning I go to work, talking to my law partner. Cyril Hall's been my partner since the beginning of my practice. And he's a veteran civil rights criminal defense attorney from Pontiac, practicing probably, over 40 years at this point, almost 50 years actually, because he started in 78. And he was floored by the story I told him, as a senior lawyer. And he's like, we gotta do something about this. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Because I let them look at my contact list. He's like, I don't know. Let's think about this for a minute. So I called another buddy of mine who's a mentor, Bill Swore, another lawyer that's done federal work forever. And Bill was same reaction, floored, couldn't believe it. He's like, I'm calling the Free Press. I'm like, Bill, why? He's like, no. People need to know about this story. And so he calls Teresa Baldes from the Free Press.
Yeah.
Who's an amazing, journalist. Yeah. She's like super talented.
Great. I love the Free Press.
The Free Press does great work, honestly. Yeah. I'm really impressed. We got good journalists in the Metro Detroit. So,
we do.
So she writes this story, and it just goes viral. Like it's like amazing how viral this story went. Like
it was on my Instagram.
Yeah, national media picked it up like instantly, and I just became inundated with like interview requests, and I had to hire like I had a PR guy that I used from time to time, but I had to bring him on full time for a period to just kind of manage all the press requests we were getting. And so I started doing interviews, telling my story, exposing what the government is doing, and really educating, the general public, but more importantly, I'm educating lawyers.
Because I didn't know a lot of this.
And I think lawyers need to know, and not just lawyers, journalists need to know, maybe medical professionals need to know. Anybody that has data that could be privileged to people in your profession. Think about a business person coming from overseas who has trade secrets, on their laptop, for instance. And then the U.S. government, seizes that laptop during a border search, takes those trade secrets and uses them in some other nefarious, manner, maybe to get leverage over somebody or a company or a country for that matter. And so these types of things are happening, like in our face, and I was subjected to that type of a search. And so I think that the general public needs to know. The ACLU called me, and they're like, you instinctively did everything right in terms of asserting privilege, pushing back. Ultimately, you gave them the device, fine. If they do this to you again, we want to see if we can challenge, the right for border searches at this point. So they're interested in taking this up if it happens again.
So what would you do next time? Not give them the device?
So, honestly, I'll take a burner device, always. I recommend everybody that's traveling overseas, don't take your personal information or your day-to-day your phone.
I know, that's just so, like when I go, okay, I'm going to go to Italy on my honeymoon, right? And, I'm not going to bring my phone. To me, that it's just not realistic. I need it to work.
It is. But so the question becomes, as a lawyer, we have an obligation to our clients. It's one of the canons that we have to oblige by in terms of our ethical duty. And so if we are knowingly putting our ethical duty at risk, by traveling with our devices, we might have a problem ethically about doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it puts an attorney or anybody else who has privileged information in an ethical dilemma. And so the New York Bar actually has an ethics opinion. And I thought it was a pretty interesting when I read it. I just started learning so much more after this ordeal. And they say that you almost can't travel with your phone internationally, or you should take a second device.
That's crazy.
That's what the New York Bar, that's what their ethics opinion recommends lawyers to do. Michigan doesn't have that type of an opinion, but
because your phone has so much more data, than it ever did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's everything. It's like having your entire, your banking information. There's just so much stuff on your phone.
So what I found out now is that they can't get stuff that's on a cloud. They can only get stuff that's actually downloaded into your device. So in the actual physical storage of your device. But that's done because of a policy that they have.
So they could change policies, right?
Correct. And so that's another thing, because new administrations come in, new policies come in. And this isn't new to the Trump administration, by the way. This had been happening for a long time. Obama was doing it a lot in their administration. Biden's administration been doing it a lot. So it's not just because we have people are so anti-Trump. It's not just, it goes across board. So it's not because of this current administration. Historically, it's been happening for a long time. And it's just a workaround to the Fourth Amendment. And I think that, the government takes advantage of it.
So how has this affected you, and, what are you going to do differently?
So like I said, 100% I won't travel with my regular day-to-day phone ever again. I just won't do it. And so if I do travel with a new device, it's not going to have privileged data on it, or if it has some privileged data, I'll assert my privilege again at the border, not give them my device, push back, and see if they seize it. If they seize it, then I'd like to challenge their ability to do so. I'd like to file a lawsuit against the United States government and be the perfect plaintiff to challenge their ability to take something without reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, without probable cause of criminal activity, without a warrant, without a judge saying, okay, you're allowed to go into this. All of that needs to be determined. And what's interesting is there's been cases out there where there's been lawsuits in different parts of the country, different circuits. None of them have been accepted by the Supreme Court. They have never chimed in on this exception, the warrant requirement at a border. And I think it's done intentionally. The Supreme Court is just leaving it alone. There's a circuit split. I think the Ninth Circuit says you should have at least some reasonable suspicion that there's some criminal activity or something along those lines, or something where you have, a reason.
You gotta have something.
Yeah, something why the government would want to get into a device. But the Sixth Circuit has nothing. There's no law on it. Other circuits, same. They're either adopting what the Ninth Circuit says, or there's nothing on it at all. and then the Supreme Court hasn't chimed in. And so
this is crazy. I didn't know I didn't know this.
It's why I became an expert almost. And so I started doing continuing legal education seminars, along with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is a Fourth Amendment civil rights group that does a lot of constitutional work. Really, really great groups out there in the legal community. And honestly, this was the first time in my career that I felt like I was a member of the bar. Like it had a lot of meaning to the member of the bar. Like the bar came out as a collective group in so much support. The letters, the emails, I got postcards from every type of lawyer across the country, dude. It was amazing. The amount of outpouring support that I received from lawyers.
Yeah.
And then different civil rights groups that reached out to me. And the National Lawyers for National Association of Criminal Defense Attorneys, American Civil Liberties Union, Electronic Frontier Foundation, Arab American Anti-Discrimination Committee, all sorts of different civil rights organizations and groups, started hitting me up.
Because I remember seeing this. It was everywhere. It was on all the news.
Oh,
and
it
all
was
this
big.
Stuff,
it was big. Yeah. And I was like, one of the judges in Dearborn came up to me right after this. He goes, "How much you pay those guys at the airport to do that?" I was like, "Judge." He's like, "Man, that was good."
I love it. I love it. So tell me about some of your other cases. A little bit about some of the stuff, just, shooting it. We have a case right now together.
Yeah, we do.
Kind of together. We're not totally aligned, but you represent the chief of police from city Hamtramck. I represent the city manager. And for a lot of our viewers who don't know what's going on, I mean, this is crazy. This is like... this is insane. This is another one of those things that you're like, I can't believe this is going on in city government.
Yeah, that case in particular, I have never seen a city government act the way this city government is acting. It's
insane.
It's like you've got so many different moving parts in this case. You've got a city council that is 2 members have been charged criminally already.
By the FBI.
Well,
right?
I don't know if it's FBI
or
the
DOJ or is it the Attorney General?
I thought it was the Attorney General's office.
Maybe it is the Attorney General.
It's a state of Michigan case, so it's not a
federal case. But they're being indicted for ballot fraud.
Ballot fraud, right.
Stuffing ballots to get reelected.
So 2 of these members were caught. One of them was on video putting in ballots in an absentee ballot box.
A whole bunch of ballots.
Like a stack all at once, just shoving it right in. And so, it was amazing because the city clerk caught it and then, requested that it be investigated. And so, it started to get investigated by the Attorney General's office. And then the Attorney General's office Dana Nessel recused herself from that, investigation, which was wild to me because she put in that recusal note that she wrote out there that she didn't want to have the appearance of impropriety of looking at or investigating Arab and Muslim city council members. And what was so weird about that recusal, I ended up using that in our case in Ann Arbor with the students who were protesting. I used that recusal order against her in that case, and she ended up dismissing that action, the civil right, the protester case.
Yeah.
Because I put so much pressure on her as to why she thought she would be, not fair. Why she would appear to be biased or couldn't be impartial in the Hamtramck case. And, that document, we ended up using it as kind of like a sword in our defense case for the students. So that was a little weird thing that happened there.
Yeah.
And then you've got these other group of city council members in Hamtramck who they apparently weren't even living in the city of Hamtramck.
Which you're required to do.
Right. And
to run. There's all kinds of stuff. And just for our viewers that aren't Hamtramck, I mean, it's a small ethnic community.
Very small.
In Detroit.
But
it's
really,
its own city, but it's within the geographical boundaries of Detroit. It's like within Detroit, right?
Yeah. It's totally surrounded by Detroit. Small in terms of size, like street size wise, but kind of a big population. Like 40, I think like 40,000 people.
Used to be very ethnically Polish.
Right.
It was
now
like Polish town.
Now it's more Bangladeshi, Yemeni.
Yeah.
And Polish. But I think more so Bangladeshi, Yemeni, majority Muslim in the town now. the first city in the United States that allows the mosques to have their call to prayer over a loudspeaker.
I didn't know that.
So if you're walking through the city and it's prayer time, you can hear the mosques let the call to prayer out, which is kind of a nice thing. It's kind of cool. It's very, very. It sounds beautiful when you hear it. And so that's kind of the. It's got an interesting culture and a beautiful history, the city of Hamtramck.
Yeah. Well, right now it's a mess because
the government is a mess.
The government's a mess. Yeah, the government's a mess. I mean, so I filed a lawsuit on behalf of the city manager and a police officer, and the stuff in the case, it was all over the news, is just insane. Allegations of crime by elected city officials, allegations of trying to buy a pardon from President Trump, that they were trying to help a rich guy secure a pardon from Trump through millions of dollars being, put in various places and slush funds and city corruption and all this horrible stuff. And so you represent the police chief,
the police chief in that. Yep.
And
it's so wild that they're kind of all, the stories of everybody is like, really, to me, I feel like the whole city was backstabbing each other.
Yeah.
That's kind of the sense I'm getting in this case, which is really, unfortunate for the residents of that city.
The residents are the ones who lose. The city cannot function right now. The city government cannot function in the status of it's in. Everybody's everybody's getting investigated.
Yeah.
We have lawsuits. I understand the chief may be bringing a lawsuit, or
chief has brought a lawsuit of his own. So just honestly, the case is going to unfold eventually.
Yeah.
And I think the city is going to become better as a result of this litigation after it's done.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a painstaking process and a very expensive process for the city, if they don't hurry up and try to resolve this case.
Know.
So.
Well, we've been telling them to resolve it. They have an insurance company behind them too. And to me, it's insanity. And then they fired everybody after they
were told by their lawyers, don't do it. And then they did it anyway. So I don't know, man. We'll figure that case out.
We'll figure it out. That'll be interesting. All right. Well, tell me about some of your other cases. You told me about some Dr. Jekyll dentist in the basement doing dental surgeries. What's this case about?
So this is honestly one of those cases going wild, honest. And I've got a bunch of them. Because I do a lot of criminal defense work and personal injury, so I get a good mix of really wild cases. And so there's a couple of years ago, there was a case where there's a Jordanian man came here to the United States recently who had a really good life in Jordan. Had 2 or 3 dental clinics going, was a really popular dentist, did a lot of veneer work, cosmetic dentistry work, was really, really talented in Jordan.
Why did he give it up?
Well, his kids got older and they wanted to come to college here in the States. And so he decided, I'm going to bring my family to the United States because my children will have a better opportunity here than they do in Jordan. So at that point, he's later in his life. He's in his mid-50s, and it didn't mean much for him to stay in Jordan anymore. He wanted to have his kids come to college here in the United States. So he moved the whole family over here, emigrated, everything, legally, still on a green card status. But so when he gets here to the United States, he realizes, I'm not really employable as a dentist over here, because he had to take his boards and he had to do all sorts of things to get credentialized. And so he starts...
So it can't transfer over. It was,
Couldn't transfer, couldn't practice here, despite him being a really talented physician in terms of being a dentist. So he starts doing Uber and Lyft. So he's really underemployed.
Wow.
And he didn't like doing that, obviously. That's he felt that it was too waste of his time and his talents. So he starts doing dental work in his basement of his house. All right.
Without
cleaning,
permission.
Without permission. It's wild. And then he started taking patients.
How is he getting clients?
So he's got this patient base of all also new immigrants who didn't want to go to the regular dentist and pay the big money that it costs to do dental work.
Yeah.
He's doing basement bargain prices.
Did he set up a dentist chair in his
dentist
basement?
Chair, had the little lights and stuff and the instruments and everything. He had laughing gas down there.
Stop.
He had a whole clinic set up in his basement. And he had one patient, this Lebanese guy, who he ended up doing veneer work for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So put him in some very nice veneers for the guy.
So he's doing like serious. He's not just cleaning.
No.
He's doing some work.
Yeah, doing work. And so this guy started basically extorting him, saying, "You messed up my teeth. I need you to pay me some money. Otherwise, I'm going to expose you." And so
I'm going to report you to the authorities.
Correct. And so the dentist got real nervous about that. So he started giving him money. Every once in a while would pay him. And so
it was like an extortion.
It was an extortion scheme, right? And so, and the guy that was extorting him had a reputation of being somebody that was, a gambler, would go play cards at night and would come after he would be done gambling and just really hit the dock up and for more money. And so there was one evening where the extortionist called the doctor 87 times in one night, just blew him up, kept calling him. And the dentist is like, "Dude, what do you want from me?" He's like, "I'm going to expose you. You messed my teeth up. I need some money, blah, blah, blah." It's all in text messages. So the doctor says, "Fine, I'm at home." So the guy, this is probably at 11 o'clock.
At night?
At night.
And does the doctor have a family there, too?
Doctor's got 2 sons that are in the house. One of them was in the house at the time of this. The other, I think, was somewhere else. His wife and his daughter had been in Jordan visiting them, her parents and her family. It's in the middle of summer, so they weren't there. And so 11, 11:30, 12, 1, nobody showed up. The guy didn't come by. 2 a.m. Somebody's knocking it through the back door of the dentist's house. He's got this bungalow home in West Dearborn with a sunroom, and door opens up. Dentist is there, looks. There's an intruder in the house, dark, has a shotgun, takes one shot. Boom. Blew the guy's head off.
No way.
Unbelievable.
Was it the guy, the extortionist?
It was the extortionist.
Wow.
So the son wakes up, comes down, doesn't know what's going on. What the hell is this? What happened? Guy's bleeding out in his sunroom in the back of the house, and ends up calling the cops. The doc is frantic, puts his phone in the, and when you got an older oven, you got that little drawer where you put pans and stuff in.
Yeah.
Threw his phone in there, slapped the door, and just waited for the cops. Cops show up. Guy said it was an intruder. And this is why we always say, don't make a statement to the police without a lawyer. His instinctive reaction wasn't to say, "I've been extorted. I knew this guy. He's been blowing me up. He showed up into my house in the middle of the night. He wasn't expected to be here at 2 a.m. I felt threatened. I felt scared for my life. I armed myself, and I defended myself." Didn't do any of that. Instead, he lied to the police.
Oh.
I don't know this guy. I don't know who he is. He was interviewed 3 times by the time that I got involved. I get involved the next morning. His son calls me. My dad's in jail. He's been arrested. There's been a murder. I go to the house. It's not that far from my office. I go into the back of this, and this is July, so it's hot. I go into this sunroom, and I see the flies. I see the blood on the walls. There's brain on the wall.
You went and saw it?
I went to the scene. Yeah, I started investigating. I'm trying to find out what's going on. And so, the yellow tape is still there. Dearborn police, they don't clean up. People think that the cops will clean up after a crime. They just leave it.
So there's just brain and shit?
There's brain, there's blood. They take the forensics, they take the photographs, they take everything, and then it's on you to clean it up.
When they raid your house, they don't clean it up either,
they don't
right?
Clean it up.
They'll rip everything apart and then just leave.
Destroy everything. And this is so I get involved, and then at that point, I interview the client. I'm like, listen, he's telling me what really happened. Guy was extorting me, intruder, not uninvited at 2 a.m. It's, to me, 80 calls in a day, within a short period of time. Very strong self-defense claims, but for the fact that he told the cops a different version of the story. And so if you're going to claim self-defense, you have to tell the jury that, I felt fear for my life. Well, if a prosecutor comes and says, well, why didn't you tell the cops this? Why'd you tell the cops you didn't know the guy? Why'd you tell the cops you didn't know this? You did this. Why'd you tell him this whole version?
Because the lying can be used to indicate guilt, right?
Correct. Yeah. And then hide the phone. You know what I'm saying? So they almost looking as if, this could be
a setup.
Correct. And so we ended up resolving that case for the dentist. We took a plea where he got, I think, about 10 years, which I thought was fair, with the prosecutor's office in terms of the totality of the circumstances. 10 to whatever the tail would be. And, but that case was so hotly debated in the community. And this is another thing about being an Arab American. A lot of people don't know this. There's discrimination among Arabs. It's one thing that everybody else discriminates against us, but then when you look within the ethnic groups, Jordanians don't like Lebanese. Lebanese don't like, Saudis. And there's weird little, discriminatory things happening. So the victim in this case was Lebanese Muslim. I'm Lebanese, ethnically. My parents were born in Lebanon. Lebanese Muslim. Why are you representing a Jordanian guy that killed one of our people?
Oh, so you got pushback.
I got pushback like crazy from within the Lebanese community, blasting me on social media. Look at this guy defending a murderer, blah, blah, blah. And I started telling folks, listen, the community has to know. Everybody needs to know. Everybody has a right to a defense. People have rights. You have the right to an attorney. You have the right to, defend yourself in court. I don't look at it as guilt or innocence. I look at it as, can the government prove that, somebody did something, that somebody committed a crime, is guilty of a crime. I don't look at it, did this guy, I never asked the client, are you guilty? Did you do it? I don't ask that question. Why would I? I don't care. Can they prove it? Can the government prove it? Because they have all the resources. They've got the cops to go out and investigate. They've got the subpoena power, the warrant power, all the resources to try to convict somebody of a crime. If they do it the right way and they don't violate the policies or laws that they're supposed to follow, then they should win every time. But they don't do it the right way. They cut corners and they do half-ass investigations. And that's why we have a lot of good and pretty successful criminal defense attorneys in the Metro Detroit area.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we do. So tell me about some other cases.
So here's one that's really wild to me. We had this case that came to us. Again, we do a lot of criminal defense work and personal injury civil rights work, and so we do both civil and criminal. There's not a lot of firms that do both.
Right.
So we're one of those offices.
Yeah, I don't do any criminal.
So
right.
There was a claim. There was a lawyer out of Bingham Farms who called me, and he's like, hey, I did an insurance claim for a life insurance policy, and there's a woman who, there's about $500,000 on this insurance policy, and there's some retirement benefits. Her husband was found in the back of a car in the east side of Detroit, burnt to death, and they haven't found anybody that did the crime, and no one's been charged, but they labeled this as a homicide, and so we waited a while, and so now she made a claim on the life insurance policy. And the insurance company doesn't want to pay. And this lawyer had been litigating the case for a little bit, but now he's like, they're claiming that she's the one that did this or is involved in this.
The wife.
Killed
the husband for insurance money.
Correct.
So if some random dude killed the husband, she would get the money, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not something that she committed. It was an act, I guess, not an intentional crime on his own, right? But somebody killed him, so the insurance should pay it. If the policy allows for that type of a coverage, then they need to put it out there. And so what's interesting in this case,
but she wasn't convicted.
She hadn't been charged. No one had been charged. It was an unsolved murder. And so she made this claim through this other law firm. And so this attorney calls me. He's like, this is getting a little too close for my comfort. Because the insurance company is now claiming that she might be involved in this homicide.
Did they have evidence of it, or?
So they started doing cell phone tower analysis. They started doing forensic, investigations from records.
Was it a big insurance? It must have been a big policy.
It was $500,000.
Okay.
It wasn't that huge, but it was enough for them to start looking at it. And the husband worked for one of the big three auto. He was a factory worker. Very, for all that I knew in my investigation, like really well liked in the plant, worked his ass off every single day. was a guy that just lived at the plant, like always wanted to be at work. And then he'd come home, he had problems with his wife. And they were like an older couple. They're probably, late, I'd say maybe mid-60s in terms of their age. All right? And so he didn't want to be home because he's living with his wife who had an adult son who was living with them, and he couldn't stand, and he's living in the basement, and he just bought a nice house out in Farmington Hills, and the wife's driving a Mercedes, and so they're living a comfortable life, but this kind of freeloading son that's in his 30s won't get off his back.
Yeah.
And so he's got a lot of tension at the house. And so I get involved in this case because the other attorney's like, this is getting a little too close for comfort for me, and I start investigating. The insurance company says, we're just going to interplead this money into the court escrow, and then you guys figure it out. So what
do you mean you guys figure it out?
So here's what the defense attorney for the insurance company decided to do. This is where it gets a little crazy. He finds an heir at law. There's a son that the husband had that he never had a relationship with, but he paid child support for. And this son was mentally challenged and is about late 20s, I'd say, in age, and never had a relationship with the dad at all. And so, but he was out there. And so he's technically an heir at law, the only real heir at law. And so the attorney for the insurance company put the money up in the court's escrow and then solicited that son, the long-lost son, to do a Slayer statute, cross-complaint. Basically saying that I'm an heir at law and that this, my dad's wife shouldn't get this money because she's the one who caused or at least lent to the death of my dad.
And that he should get the money.
So the defense attorney becomes a plaintiff attorney. He just went and found this guy and dropped the insurance company as a client and started representing.
Stop!
I swear to you.
Stop!
I swear to you.
How did he do that?
I don't know. It was in federal court too. And the federal judge let the guy do it.
What?
So
the defense attorney who's representing the insurance company saying
puts up the money into the court's escrow.
They should get no. He says they should get no money because
that the wife should get no money.
He goes and finds this kid and then says, "Hey, I'll represent you."
Yeah. There's this pot of money out there.
Stops working gets the money from the insurance company. Dude, if I did that, I'd be like, lose my card so quick.
I swear to you. And so that's what happened. And so then we ended up representing the wife still, making this claim. So we're litigating this insurance case now.
Against the
son. The money's up in court escrow. It's not like now we're fighting over, does the wife get it? Does the kid get it? Who didn't have a relationship with the dad? Does he even know this defense? This defense attorney, now a plaintiff lawyer, does he even know who this lawyer is? Did he have the mental ability to do so? Because the guy was developmentally challenged.
Yeah.
And so, and he didn't do it as a guardian or next friend. So we were able to take the deposition of the son. Son's like, yeah, I met this guy one time. I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't know my dad. But, he's I swear to you, it's so wild.
What? And what was the attorney doing?
The attorney's just like, objection, like, what the heck are you talking about, man? So then finally we settled that case. We basically split the baby. We gave the son some of the money. She took the rest of the money. And then, boom, she gets charged with the murder.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
They get charged, her and her son.
The autistic son?
No, her son that was living in the house with their husband.
They get charged with the murder?
They get charged with the murder. So the cops were waiting for this, and they were kind of looking for the deposition transcripts. They're waiting for information. They want to know what the insurance company investigated.
So they were kind of lying in wait.
In wait. And so as soon as she got the insurance check, they charged her and her son with the murder. And so we were intimate in the case, knew what was going on. We represent him in the murder. And so honestly, we ended up settling that criminal case. She ended up getting, I think, just 2 years. She pled to something that was minimal enough where she wasn't facing a long prison sentence.
Yeah.
And so she did about 2 years in Michigan Department of Corrections. The son took the biggest hit. He ended up pleading to second degree, I believe, no contest, and he got like 18 years. So he took the big hit.
What was the evidence?
So here's the evidence in this case. So they find this car burning on the east side of Detroit, and there's a body in the trunk of that car. And
is the body in the trunk?
The body's in the trunk, and the car and the body are completely like incinerated. It was caught on fire. no real ability to recognize who the person was. That's how burnt up this car was. Couldn't find a cause of death. The medical examiner knew just because somebody was in the trunk of a car burnt up that it was a homicide, but didn't know how that person died. And so
Did they know if they were dead before?
They couldn't tell if it was before the fire, if they were dead, or after.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they were burnt up alive.
So bad. They were burned
Yeah,
that bad they
yeah.
couldn't like analyze the lungs.
Zero ability. I remember doing the preliminary exam in that case and taking the medical examiner's testimony, and they just really had not a lot to work with. And so the manner and cause of death was unknown, but they knew it was a homicide because nobody just ends up in the back of a trunk of a car burnt up. And so they found out who owned the car, and it was this husband. They go to the guy's house. Start asking the wife, when's the last time you saw your husband? Well, he left 7 o'clock last night. I called him at 3 a.m. I don't know where he is. I'm worried about him. Okay, well, we found him in East Detroit, and we found a person burnt up. And so she goes to the morgue and identifies that as her husband and is all distraught and acts as if like she's not the one that was involved in this case. And honestly, I never really truly felt like she was involved. I really don't. I never truly, in my heart of hearts and my gut of it, that she knew what happened. In terms of the evidence, they had cell phone tower analysis of the son, the adult son that was living in the basement. And they interviewed all the guys at the plant that the husband was friends with. And he would always say, I'm having trouble with my old lady. If anything happens to me, my old lady did something.
No way.
I swear to you. There's witnesses that say this. And it's like, she got an insurance policy on me and all sorts of stuff. And so these guys at the plant were like, knew that there was trouble at home. And they were talking about it among each other. And so when he ended up dying, the guys at the plant were like, dude, he warned us. He warned us that something was going to happen. That kid that was, her son that's living in the house, was bad news. And so the cops look into the son. He's got a long rap sheet. The guy was like a bouncer at a nightclub in St. Louis. I mean, he's a big guy. He's got to be 6'5", 280 pounds. He's a big, big dude. And so they find the car in East Detroit. His phone had been traveling in that neighborhood of where they found the car, and so there's some cell phone tower analysis there. And when they found the car, the seat, the driver's seat, had been pushed all the way back, like totally in the position
like for a big dude,
for a tall guy. And the husband had been a really small statured man. He wasn't like tall by any means. He was short, really small in stature. So it didn't make sense that he would have been driven there, or he would have drove his car. Then they got the surveillance video from the neighborhood that they were living in, Farmington Hills, and you can see that car leaving, the neighborhood, and then another car following it, and so it's painting the story, and you see on the cell phone tower analysis they didn't have infotainment system in that vehicle, which would have really shown the whole traverse of the car, but the cell phone did, the tower analysis did, and it kind of showed where it went all the way to Detroit and blah, blah, blah. And so that's kind of where the son gets caught up, because he made some statements to the police also. And the mom's story, or his mother, the wife of the decedent, and then the son's story, the adult son, didn't match. They
didn't make sense.
It makes sense. Nothing made sense, man.
Yeah. Something was going on.
Right. And so they didn't have hard evidence on this guy, but they had a lot of circumstantial evidence. Very, very significant circumstantial evidence. Prosecutor's office brought in a special prosecutor, somebody who'd been like a retired Oakland County prosecutor, a lady, I forget her name at this point, but somebody who'd been around and done some really famous, cases. So really talented, team. In terms of the prosecution. And so my partner and I were defending the mom and the son. And we ended up resolving the case because, we didn't want to risk their natural life on a trial that had that kind of circumstance.
Always a tough decision.
Yeah.
And it is weird that he's telling everybody, if something happens to me, it's her. It's like speaking from the grave.
Right. And these witnesses were coming in, talking about this stuff. So, that's an example of some of the kind of wild cases we get. But think about coming from a civil case into...
as an insurance case, Wasn't worth the money, I bet.
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Man.
that's a lot of Cheetos in jail, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's crazy. Well, dude, thanks for coming on the show. This was awesome.
man, I
and keep
appreciate
up
you.
your good work fighting for the people.
Thank you.
And we're gonna be seeing each other on this Hamtramck case.
All right.
So I
Hopefully
really
we get some more
appreciate it.
cases together, man.
I hope so too.
Well,
I
man.
hope so too. Keep up fighting for the people.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody. It's been another great episode of Cases Gone Wild. A huge shout out to my friend and great attorney Amir Makled and all the work that he's done, and his own personal cases gone wild. It's crazy. You just can't make this stuff up. If you like our show, share it with your friends. If you need help or someone that you know does, you need to get a hold of Makled, give us a call. 313-777-7777. That's 313 all sevens. Or go to markolaw.com. We'll see you in another 2 weeks here on another Cases Gone Wild.